I'm Jim Nelson, and in this video I will be showing you Finder, the newest project in VFPX. Finder is a search engine to locate forms and classes, which you can then open, run, or otherwise manipulate. To install Finder, you use Thor, a different VFPX project that provides one-stop shopping for downloading all VFPX projects. If you don't already have Thor installed, here's all you do. Start at the VFPX homepage, scroll down till you find Thor, click on Thor, and I'll spare you the actual downloading and unzipping of the installation file, but you end up with a folder that looks like this. And from here you can double click on the Thor.application, which finishes the installation part of Thor and then runs check for updates. Along the way it opens the Thor news page, which I invite you to read, but we'll skip for now. And it brings up this screen called check for updates, which allows you to download all of the VFPX projects, and it tells you what version and you know whether you are current or not. So include all of the normal already selected projects along with Finder, which is what we're talking about, and I strongly recommend that you also include Go Fish. And then you can install these updates. Now what will happen here is it is installing them, and it is making Finder available as a tool in Thor. And then we can go into the Thor configuration screen and assign a hotkey to it. And from then on, we can just use that hotkey to open Finder. So we can go to the tool definitions page on the Thor configuration screen here, and there are lots of projects, and you can search by part of the name or description of the project you're looking of the tool you're looking for. I'm going to type in Finder, which will find the tool that has been created, and I'm going to assign a hotkey to it. I'm going to assign Control-0 and then close the form, and now I can open Finder by pressing the hotkey. The essence of Finder is simple. Type in a name or part of a name that you're looking for in a file. Identify where you're going to search. I guess I'm going to open a project here. Then I can have it search this active project. And I'm going to search for all files in that project. From here, you can open any file by double clicking on it. So I've got this little file here which I can open. By default, Finder closes itself after you've done an operation on a single file. I'm going to bring it back by hotkey. You can have it stay open by clicking on this little checkbox. By default, Finder is dockable, which allows it to make sure it always stays on top, and also lets you move it off of the visible screen. And of course you can change that by removing the dockable checkbox. Now there are a number of other things that you can do with files that you find besides opening them. So for instance, for this one, now this is a PRG, I can run the PRG. I can look up a reference to it. This is actually going to invoke Go Fish and look through the same search, through the same scope as we have here, and find all references to the file name without extension of the current file. Since this file is already in this project, it will allow you to remove it. And then there are some common ones. You can open this folder, the folder for this file in Windows Explorer, or you can CD to the folder, or change the scope up here to be this folder. You can also filter on the columns, the columns of your grid. If you have found a lot of matches, for instance, as can happen when if you do a file search and it's blank, it actually finds all the files. I have 716 files in this project. And then you can use this filter on the left to find files just by the type of, basically by their extension. Since I happen to have forms showing up here, you'll notice that the timestamp that appears for forms and class libraries is not the timestamp that you'll see in Explorer, because it actually looks at the timestamp of the individual rows and gives you the newest, the most recently modified row in your form or class. So if I search on the column, if I sort on the column, I'll find the most recently changed forms based upon their actual modification, not upon the date on which they were last compiled. You can also search for classes, and actually this is what I do a lot more. I'm much more likely to search for classes than I am to search for forms, and I can do the same thing here and search for classes, and I'll get I have 20 classes with the name table in them, and from there, once again, I can open with double click. I can open the class browser for this that contains this class. I can open HackCX. I can create a subclass. It opens the standard dialog that you're familiar with for creating a subclass. It creates a duplicate class which will show up in the same class library as the class you're in. And then a few new things. We have descendant classes, and descendant classes are all classes that are subclasses or subclasses of them, etc. And to do this, I'm going to look for a class that has object in its name, of which I only have one, but when I look for its descendant classes, I get a new form which shows the structure, the hierarchy of classes that all are descendant from this particular class. Now when I go back with Control O, you should notice something that when I can reopen the form, I come back right to where I had been. I get the same list of files, and if there's more than one file, the same file would be selected, the same search, the same scope, all the other things, including the order of the columns and the width of the columns. All of those are preserved from session to session. I can also do something new called Where Used, and Where Used is going to show me all forms and classes, forms or classes, where the selected class is used or any of its subclasses. Okay, so this particular result here shows, actually I have a form forms which have objects on them which use either this class or any of its subclasses. And once again, from here you get the standard list of actions that you can take on either forms, or the list for classes will be longer. So I have not shown you all the features here. There are more features that I can show you. You should know that there are tooltips on a number of the items here. There are more things that you can do to search. For instance, if we, in our search thing here, if we say star.dbf and do a file search, I'm going to find all the DBFs that I have in this project. Of course, I could just as easily have done this by doing a file search and looking here at free tables. That would be another way of doing the same thing. There is a filter box which controls how this filter appears. In this case, when you've searched for files, you can search by file type as we have, or we can show the folders that they're in. If we go back to our class search and we show all the classes that we have, you have a list here by base class, There's also one by folders, like what you get when you search by file. And there's also one by hierarchy, which shows, if I showed you my list, here are all my container classes, and showing it to you in terms of the hierarchy there. One last thing that may not be obvious: when we search for classes, we get classes that are in PRGs, and it follows the parent class and parent class locations of classes that are found in PRG. So if you use them, it's a way of treating PRG classes the same way that you use VCX-based classes. That's a brief review of the features of Finder. I'm sure that over time there will be enhancements and changes to the form. If you have suggestions or comments or bug reports, please go from the Thor menu, go to the Thor forum. And from the Thor forum, you can send an email which will go directly to me and others in the Thor group, and make your concerns known. Thank you very much for your time.